All right, in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to do the driver side CV axle replacement on a 2015 Subaru XV Crosstrek. Now, this would be similar to the passenger side. It's just obviously we're just going to be doing it on the driver side. So I already kind of started the little process, and then it just was like, what the heck? Might as well just record this little setup. If you haven't already, give it a thumbs up. Comment down below if you have any questions, and hit that subscribe button for more upcoming videos in the future. And we're going to go ahead and start this video right after the intro. All right, so first things first, the way how I jacked it up was kind of right there on the little subframe. Let's get a little light up in there. So I jacked it up from right there, and I put my jack stand right here at the pinch weld. Now you can jack it up from your subframe that goes right over here. So there's a little hook. You can jack it up from right there. I don't recommend jacking it up from the pinch welds because over time you will destroy that. Now, we are replacing the CV axle because we are throwing out the grease, and I don't know what the customer's complaint was, but we're just throwing out grease. Now, this is going to be a little pain in the butt because I have a spacer on it. Now, just keep in mind, I might do some extra things that I normally shouldn't be doing just because of the spacer wise. So if anything, I might put a jack under the lower control arm just to lift up the lower control arm to get them to place, just because of the 3-inch space on the actual lift kit. All right, so we're gonna come right over here where the ABS wire is. We're gonna go ahead and just take that off. That's gonna be a 10mm bolt that we're gonna be loosening up. Once that comes off, the sensor itself, you can wiggle it, and then you should be able to slide it right off. Now, if it doesn't come off initially, you can hit it with some WD-40. All right, so next we're gonna go ahead and loosen up this 10mm. This will be for the brake line caliper. We're just gonna loosen it up just to give us a little bit more slack. Once you loosen up that, you'll just kind of swing down your brake line just a little bit right over there. All right, so next we're gonna go ahead and take off our strut mount bolts. So these are gonna be 19mm. So there's going to be one 19mm nut right here, and then the 19mm bolt that's right there. And same thing applies for the bottom one too as well. Now, when taking these off, before you take it off, you are going to have a washer up on top for the top one. And then make sure you mark these guys prior to taking them off on that. So these do have a camber adjustment. So the bottom one doesn't, it's just the top one has a camber adjustment. So once you take off the bolt, your whole steering knuckle will actually fall down. So right here you can see how this is the top bolt. So you can see that right there. So this, as you can see, it's kind of uneven. That's why it's supposed to be marked prior to taking them off. All right, so next we're going to be using a 32mm socket. You can get a 6-point socket. Now, let's say if you don't have an impact gun, what you can do is you can get a flathead screwdriver and stick it in between your caliper right here in the center, just like that. And then as you lefty-loosey counterclockwise loosen up the bolt, you will be able to stop the rotor from spinning on that. All right, so next we're gonna go ahead and push our CV axle through. So now sometimes these guys can be on there pretty tight. So what you can do is you can give the actual CV axle a tap, and that should go through. Now if you have to sit there and wedge on it, you can get like a little cold chisel, and then there's a little guidance point that you can actually poke right in the center of the CV axle. I'll show you that one right now. I'll just get this popped out. And then you'll pretty much put the CV axle on this side, so we can, on the more closer towards the driver door, so we can pop it out easier. So this is the little guidance point that I was talking about where you can punch it out. This is perfect for the center punch, just to get that going. All right, so I'm gonna try to do the snatch method first on this one because it's the OEM, looks like the OEM axle. So we'll go ahead and snatch method just means I'm just gonna yank it out, and if it doesn't come out, then we'll go ahead and do it with the actual, you can use a flathead or a pry bar. So the snatch method did work. So if you weren't able to do the snatch method, you can get like a pry bar and kind of pry in between here and then the transmission and pop them out. So in my case, we are perfectly fine. Don't have to worry about that. But yeah, other than that, ready on to the next step. All right, so next we need to go ahead and clean up our input shaft that's gonna go inside the transmission. So let's go ahead and just clean this up first. Make sure there's no debris in it. This will keep the CV axle seal lasting. Once that dries up, so I sprayed brake cleaner on the rag, and then the rag I used to clean up. So we're gonna put some grease. It's right here. Now you can use any kind of grease. I'm using wheel bearing grease. Now this is just to lube up the actual CV axle seal. And then we're gonna go ahead and install our axle shaft. Now be careful with the actual seal that you don't destroy it. Actually, before I put this on, let me clean up my area. So we got all that gray stuff. Is that the actual shaft seal or the axle grease? We're just gonna pull all this stuff out. Just clean as much as possible. So if it does leak again, we know it's from the new axle. And then once we're done cleaning up everything, we'll go ahead and get back to the video. All right, so I got the area up best as we can. It's all nice and cleaned up. So we can spend all day and get it all tediously clean, but that should be good. So it's just a little couple spots that's kind of hard to reach. All right, so let's go ahead and install our axle now. Make sure you're not hitting it against the seal. Make sure you're actually inserting it inside the shaft. Now what I always say is spin it until you feel that it grabs. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do, I'm just going to pull just back just a hairline while the axle's still inside the transmission. So I'm going to pull it back just a hairline and then insert it in. All right, so let's say if that doesn't work, then what we can do is we can actually hammer it in. Let me see. Normally just doing a little sliding should work, but if it doesn't work, no biggie. So what we'll do is we'll kind of max this bolt down, and then we'll get our axle nut. And then we're just gonna hammer the axle nut in. Just make sure that the CV axle is straight. And then the hammer I'm gonna be using, it's a 3-pound hammer. So it should be nothing too crazy. Make sure that the CV axle is completely collapsed before hammering it. All right, so I had to get another CV axle because of the one that we had. The snap rings were way too widened out. So let's go ahead and install this one. This one looks a lot more promising. So go ahead and spin it right in, and then once you get it snugged in, we'll just kind of pull it back just a hairline and then shove right in, and then that'll do it. So once you get that in, if you're having a hard time doing so all you have to do is probably maybe pull it back about 1/2 inch and then just slam right in. So from while it's bottomed out, or about 1 inch, you can pull it back just 1 inch and then again slam right in. And then we're gonna go under so I can show you the difference. So here is how it should look like, just like that. That's what you want it to look like, and then there, and then that's a winner. All right, so next thing what I would recommend to do, I would recommend to put some grease on the splines. Just kind of do it in the beginning. Now the reason why I'm doing this is because that prevents any rust build up and then causing it to causing the CV axle to seal or seize itself to the actual wheel bearing or hub. So we're gonna go ahead and spin our CV axle just like that, put it at an angle, and then we're gonna go ahead and swing it right under the strut. And then we're gonna push our spindle, our steering knuckle. We're gonna set up our strut, the angle that we want it to, and at the same time, I'm just gonna kind of work myself. And I'm gonna spin the CV axle just back and forth. You might need to spin the rotor, and then we just kind of want to get the CV axle in. And at the same time, I'm gripping the bottom of the CV axle at the boot, and mostly where the little knuckle part is. This is how I'm gripping it, and I'm wiggling it up and down and bringing it towards myself. Do not tighten the CV axle yet. We need to get the spindle bolted up to the strut tower. Then we're gonna put in our bottom bolt, one that has no angle. It's gonna be straight. So the one that has a little bit of meat on the actual bolt, this one is gonna go up on top. And then the other one is gonna go on the bottom. Now, if you're having a hard time putting in the bottom bolt, what you can do is you can grab the rotor with the base of the bottom of your palm, and you can push towards the car, and then kind of just go back and forth, and it should insert right in. Don't forget our washer needs to be up on top. And we're gonna go ahead and put on both of our bolts. We're gonna put on our 12mm bolt. All right, so remember how I told you how we got everything all angled? So have everything all marked. Now, I would recommend to get an adjustable wrench. All right, so we got everything pretty much lined up. And then we're gonna go ahead and bolt it down. I'll get you the torque specs right now. And then we're gonna put in our ABS wheel speed sensor. $115 foot-pounds, so 115. This will be torqued down to 14 foot-pounds, and I mean the ABS wire will be down to, I want to say like 5 foot-pounds. If anything, you don't need to torque down that one that much. And then for the axle nut, you would be torquing that down to 163. So torque down to 163, and then you would be putting a screwdriver right here, and then we would torque that down. So let's go ahead and get that one torqued down. All right, so I went ahead and put our little driver in. Again, you can put a screwdriver, and then we're gonna be torquing down this to 163 foot-pounds. All right, so we got that torqued down. All right, so now that we got that torqued down, so there's a little notch that's actually on the CV axle. So we need to indent the axle nut into the CV. Now the reason why we do this is to keep the nut from retracting back over time, and we don't want the nut to come off. So get your flathead. You just need to make a small indentation, and then you're fine like that. All right, so recheck everything, make sure everything's all bolted up, mark it if you need to, double check your CV axle, make sure it's inserted, and that's pretty much it. We're gonna go ahead and put on our wheel. So when you tighten down your lug nuts, you're gonna go in a star pattern. So you're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'd recommend you to snug down the lug nuts first before fully bolting down the wheel, because you can have a little offset and the wheel can be hitting the actual hub itself and then going cockeyed. So we do not want that, and then your lug nuts will loosen up at the end or during drive testing. And then you're gonna be torquing down your lug nuts to 89 foot-pounds. And that's pretty much it. If this video helped you out, give it a thumbs up, comment down below if you have any questions, and hit that subscribe button for more upcoming videos in the future. And thanks for watching.